Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Thursday. Short week for the show, but you know what? That's okay. That's all right. So anyways, while I wait for people to come on, let's just grab an Aloha card, right? Because it is the Aloha Perspective, and we should probably Aloha it sometimes. Let's see. Ooh, I can't even see this one. Invite friends to a virtual gathering. Cook a new recipe and share it with someone. Let's see what else. Let's see if anything just randomly pops out while I wait for people to come on. Ooh, one just fell out from the bottom. Look in the mirror. Aww, look in the mirror at how beautiful you are. I love that one. Look in the mirror at how beautiful you are. You should. Do it. Do it. I love that. Even if you don't feel beautiful, just look in the mirror anyways. And look at it until you see the beautiful person that is staring back at you. Because, you know, that's important. So, I like that one. I think I'm going to post that one later. So anyways, today's subject, I saw it on Instagram. I'm starting to get my mojo back because I'm starting to find things to talk about again, or things that I find on the interwebs that I want to share. And yeah, so I did go out and get coffee this morning. I admit, I needed it. I needed it hard and hard. But it is kind of leaky though, so. Sorry, hold on one hand. Squirrel! Hold on 1 second. There I go. Anyway. So yeah. Sorry. I know. Oh, hot mess. It's like, why didn't you think about all this stuff before you started? Because that's not how I roll. Anyways. Good morning, Muddy. Good morning, Muddy. So, let's get going. So this came from selfcare.recipe on Instagram. So again, it's selfcare.recipe. And I love getting their stuff. One of the reasons I do all these, you know, like I look at all these things and whatnot is because I need to be reminded that there is humanity in this world. So good morning, older sibling. So yesterday we talked about you know, pet grieving. And I hate calling them pets because technically they really feel like our babies, right? They are our babies. Every time I find myself referring to my cat or the cats, George and Pixel, I don't really use the word pet. I just say my babies, you know, and sometimes you have to clarify. So I'll just say my cat, but it's so rare when I refer to them as a pet. Although that's the technical term, right? Like, you know, this is my human. So, but we don't say that, right? This is my human. So, something that does sound like something I would say. This is my human. But, and who knows? Pixel may say that too, you know, whoever she's chirping at outside the window, that's my human in there. So, these are my humans. But anyways, you know, obviously, yesterday I said I was waiting for my brain cells to come back, but then I thought, it's like, you know what? I'm really kind of off kilter all the time anyway. I don't think any Aloha Perspective has ever been truly balanced. That's why I say a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything, because I know my brain. I know my brain very, very well. So anyways, that being said, I feel like my makeup is sassy today too. Black eyeliner went on a little thick. And then I thought, who cares? You're wearing a shirt with a witch on it. Who cares? So anyways, the girl at Starbucks liked my shirt too. But I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be a lot of squirrels during this show. Ladies, gentlemen, and however you identify, there will be a lot of squirrels in this show. So, anyways, again, let's start over. Selfcare.recipe on Instagram. Keep people in your life who celebrate your goodness, show up during hard times, are able to be vulnerable, are willing to communicate, who reciprocate effort, and hold you accountable. So let's talk about this. Okay, we're going to take this step by step. And just in case, look in the mirror and see how beautiful you are. All right. Beautiful, handsome, however you want to look at it. All right. So, and I'm telling you this because this kind of goes with keep people in your life who make you feel good about yourself. You know? Oh, thank you, Muddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was just kind of like, it's, I mean, I'd never worn eyeliner that thick before, and I kind of toned it down just a little bit, but I was kind of like, and so I just made it thicker on top, and I'm like, what the hell? So, Lord have mercy. It's going to be one of those days. All right, let's get rolling. Okay, so keep people in your life who celebrate your good news. Yeah, you know, there's nothing worse than going, oh my God, you know, like you come home with the best news and the greatest news. And so I'm not going to share who this is. Okay. But I'm going to use this as an example, and I hope they don't see it because I did not get permission. And this wasn't my friend. This is just an incident that she witnessed and she told me about. So she has a group of friends that she hangs out with. And one of them is really kind of a FOMO person, like fear of missing out, or needs to be the center of attention of everything. And so one friend says, oh my God, I'm engaged. I'm getting married. And the other one just chimed, you know, so everyone's like, oh, congratulations. It's so exciting, blah, blah, blah. And the other one chimes in, I want a TV. I want a TV. Okay. Okay. Great. That's wonderful. How about congratulations? So, you know, and now I'm not saying, because they all know how this person is, so they just kind of deal with it. And this person is very lucky that these people keep her in their life. So, you know, oh, I'm sorry, Muddy. I don't know. You know what? I don't know what is happening in the world, because yesterday the connection said really slow, you know, and I was just kind of like, and then I found out, like, I need to go back after I do my show and look at it later, because sometimes you guys make comments that I don't see. Like last week, Sibling made a comment and I didn't even see it, or whatever, the last time I did a show before this week. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even see it. And you both were basically saying the same thing, but I felt bad because I didn't acknowledge her, and it's because I didn't see it. And like, I'll go in there later, you know, and sometimes too, I should check anyways, because people do watch this later. But I'll go in after the show sometimes and I'll see comments that you both have left that I didn't see. And it's just like, what's happening? So anyways, that being said, so you hear the story and the first thing you think is, wow. But like I said, this person is lucky that these people keep her in their lives, because I mean, who says, oh, I'm getting married, oh, I want a TV? Case in point, be a good friend. If you have great news and it's the same time somebody else has great news, you know, pick and choose what you choose to do. Because, I mean, you know, I mean, everybody wants to share in each other's joy and everyone wants to share in each other's excitement, okay? But if it's one of these things where it's just like, I want a TV, it's like, that kind of not the same level of excitement. I mean, it's exciting and it's happy, but don't try to steal someone else's thunder, you know? I mean, when you're celebrating a life moment versus a prize winning, it's not the same. It's not the same. And what we want is, oh no, I'm sorry. I would try to talk slower, but I'm not sure that's possible, or if that would even help. But, so Muddy's having a slow connection issue, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know, is there like weird solar flares out there today, or I don't know. Someone please tell me what the earth is doing, because it's messing with the signals this week. And so anyways, like I said, champion your people, okay? And keep around you the people who champion you, who, you know, celebrate your good news with you, who, you know, even if it's something small, you know, like, oh, I came out of my spiral today and I feel great. Let's go do something. You know, like case in point, right? Is that my thing today? Case in point? I don't know. But anyways, years and years ago when Sissy Joe was still alive, so older sibling, because of her CRPS, has these chronic headaches, and they really suck, right? Because it's just like this background of pain. And one day, I don't know if she just cracked her neck or what she did, but she just kind of moved a certain way, and all of a sudden her headache was gone. And so she's all, and I'm sharing this because this may not seem like a big deal to you. They'd just be like, oh, okay, well, yay, your headache's gone. But the first thing she says is, we got to go do something. We got to go do something. And we were all ready to just hunker down that day and just watch movies and do nothing and, feed our faces. And then she's all like, we got to go do something because I feel really good right now. And so we thought about Disneyland because we all had passes at the time. And we're like, we've done that, but we don't want to hurt you so that you go back into your headache. So we thought, let's keep it a little low key. Well, we ended up in San Diego at the Whaley House, but which is a national landmark and on the U.S. Registry of Haunted Houses. So, but, the girls had always wanted to go there. I'd been there. So I'm like, we're all like, yeah, let's do this. So we come all the way down and we go, and it was like the greatest day of her life. Like in a long time, maybe not the greatest day in her life, but it was the greatest day in a very long time of, headache filled days. And so it was exciting. And I mean, this is a celebration of good news. This is a celebration of, a moment, that someone was just feeling, wow, let's go do this. I feel great. I can walk around. Nothing's fuzzy. And we had a wonderful time. We had a great time. And it's a core memory. At least for me, it's a core memory because it was just kind of like, all these things around us, and we're closer to LA in Orange County than we are to where we ended up. But it's like, let's go to San Diego. Okay. And because I'm from here, I know where to go. So, it was a very lovely day. Like I said, it's a very distinct core memory in my heart and my mind. And in case you don't know what a core memory is, it was made, I don't know if they made up the term or the term was made famous in Inside Out, but it's, the show about all your emotions that run you inside. Great show, both 1 and 2. But I think 1 was better, but number 2 was funny because it had anxiety and it's like I could totally relate. So anyways, yeah, that was her good news. Oh, she says, this older sibling says, I thought the same thing when you started talking about it. But it was just such a wonderful day. It was just such a wonderful core memory. So keep in your life those who celebrate your good news and who celebrate you, and don't forget to also champion your friends, and like I said, even though this may seem like a small thing to a lot of people, for Sissy Joe and I, this was extremely exciting for us. Because it's not very often that older sibling doesn't have a headache, and it's not that it holds her back. She'll still go do things. It's just that, she was just beaming with so much happiness and so much joy that we're like, you know what, let's just all change our clothes. Let's get out of our pajamas and let's go. So it's kind of like, all right, and I know Sissy Joe had a particularly hard week that week, but she's like, I'm ready, and, she just sat in the back, napped, and there you go. Oh, good morning, Angela. Hello from Tennessee. Well, hello from California. I don't know who else is on, but we got a Georgia on here. We got a mid-ground Southern California on here. So, I hope you're doing well. You've got to let us know when you come back. So, anyways, the next one. Keep people in your life who show up during hard times. Yeah, see, older sibling says, I finally got to meet me because I was free from pain. Oh, I love you too. We miss you. We miss you a lot. I know. But I like your pictures and I get excited seeing all the stuff you're doing with, all your family. May 12th through the 19th. Oh, I'll be gone May 12th through the 19th. My dad doesn't know that yet, but I will be. Older sibling's birthday is that week. And then I'm going fishing. I know. I feel bad about fishing. It's kind of like hunting to me, but even if I don't throw a line out, I like the calm. But anyways, hopefully I will try to see you because I will be in San Diego on the 18th and the 19th. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, have a safe trip when you do come out here. So, again, so the first one was keep people in your life who celebrate your good news. The next one, keep people in your life who show up during hard times. So, yes, I'm excited about fishing. So I know now people who watch this later, this is live. So people will come in and comment and we kind of chit chat. So, all the things. Oh, back in July. Okay, perfect. Yeah. If I don't see you in May, I will see you in July. But yeah, so it's alive, and there's chats happening. It's like a side quest, right? You're on an adventure and you have side quests. And I love the side quests because I don't get to see some of these people that often. So anyways, again, keep people in your life who show up during hard times. There are a lot of people in this world that when you're going through some rough shit, they're out. They just take off and they turn their back on you. And then when it comes around to them, they expect you to be there. And you know what? There is one down here. I'm going to kind of skip a little bit, but we will revisit this, where it says reciprocate effort. I'm at this age in my life now where I can't always put out the effort that I want to. I try. I do struggle with major depressive disorder. I pretty much have it in check, but there are days when it's really hard, but I still try to show up, especially if someone's not doing well. But I'm also at this age, as I was saying, where it's like, you know what? If you keep turning your back on me, I'm out. You figure it out yourself. All right? I mean, I've been in this major spiral for a couple of weeks now since I got sick and all this other stuff. And it was just, I think I had just pushed off all these emotions and didn't deal with it. And now they're just kind of, for the last week, I've just been kind of like, I feel like I've just been in this haze, and I haven't talked to anybody about it. I haven't wanted to talk to anybody about it. And, but people have been there. I had a wonderful coffee date with my cousin the other day, which was absolutely lovely. And we just sat there. My dad, I don't know if my cousin Jeannie's on or not, but I told her exactly what my dad would say. What do you guys talk about for like 5 hours? And I got back to the house. Well, what do you guys talk about for 5 hours? I was worried. And it's like, I said, lots of people go out and talk. Well, they don't sit in the same place for 5 hours. And it's like, yeah, they do. We're girls. We talk. There's gentlemen that come and have their gatherings that sit there for like 2 or 3 hours. So it's like, we had breakfast and we chit chatted. And, my cousin was going through a lot. She just lost her dad, and he's a guy. He's a guy. Like, they'll go out to a bar and sit there for hours. And then what do you do? But, it's because there's beer involved, right? Which I can do too. But yeah, I mean, it's coffee. It's a coffee date. So, and when you have, we haven't seen each other in over a month. So, we just had a lot to catch up on, and there were lulls, and I didn't want to rush her because I knew, whatever she needed, I wanted to be there for her. And no, I'm not tooting my own horn. So I just let her know when she was ready. I just waited until she was ready. And when she was ready, I was like, okay, she's ready to go home. Let's go. But I didn't want to rush her. And that's the key point. When people are going through something horrible, when people are, or maybe they don't even know what's going on with them. Like with me, I have no idea why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, but a lot of times it's just my depression. Plus, I'm perimenopausal. Plus, I'm PMSing. So chances are that's all it was this last week. It's just me having a bunch of hormones going crazy and having this like incredible rave inside of me that I wasn't invited to. At least my brain wasn't invited to. It's like, seriously, hormones, if you're going to have fun and cause chaos, at least invite me to the party. So, because obviously today I'm doing okay. So, because, TMI, it's that time. I'm not PMSing anymore. I am DMSing, which is during. But, of course, I'm gonna side quest for a second. Still waiting for menopause. Effing menopause. Still waiting for menopause. Perimenopause is a bitch. All right. Oh, good. I'm glad Muddy loved the rave description. That's what it feels like, right? It's like all this chaos, like fun chaos, but I'm not invited to the fun. It's like, really? Really, bitches? Come on. But anyways, even yesterday, so I tend to get theatrical or dramatic, however you want to put it. And I texted my cousin yesterday and I said, because she's very intuitive. And I've been having a lot of headaches lately. Am I dying? She's all, no, you are not dying. But she's all, I heard that's a symptom of perimenopause. So I figured, you know what? I got to start doing my perimenopausal homework. Not just half-assing it and going, Google, okay. Just really kind of looking through it. And I mean, not to discover symptoms that I can have, but to kind of understand. Because I don't want, to miss something and then go like, oh my God, I'm dying because I'm always having headaches. But I also need something to help me understand why I'm having headaches, because the stuff I was taking wasn't helping. And it's just like, what is happening? So, it's always good to research things, not to scare yourself, but to find options on what you can do to, kind of help ease the rave, Actually, what I should say is like, it's like a rave is happening inside of me, all the little hormones having a rave, but my brain is feeling the hangover from it. So they're having fun over here and my brain is like, oh God. So anyways, keep people in your life who show up during hard times. No matter what the hard times are. And bad choices get made sometimes. Good choices get made sometimes. Choices get made sometimes. Don't abandon your people. Don't judge them. Okay? Because we're also quick to follow that commandment, right? Or not, I don't even think it was a commandment. I think it was a Jesus thought, do unto others. But, we also talk about don't judge other people, right? And then here we judge our own people, or we talk about them behind their back, or we say things about them that we don't know the whole truth on. And we need to not do that. We need to not do that. We need to not talk out of the side of our face and then sit there and judge people. Okay? So, I mean, if you have an absolute reason why to judge people, like I do a lot of judging right now, but not anyone I know. Just a lot of bad shit happening around this whole country. But that is aside. Okay, that's a soapbox day. But when you have people, we're not always I don't always make the best choices in my life. And I'm not always the best human that I can be in my life. And I'm very grateful and I'm very lucky that I have had people show up during my hard times. Because a lot of times I couldn't talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. And I would just push it down until it exploded. And whoever was in front of me is the person that got the worst of it, which was usually older sibling. Okay? If baby sibling was on, she probably mentioned the muffin incident. But, and just to make the point again, I did not eat a chocolate chip muffin for like 20 years. Even sibling was like, really? I'm like, no. Every time I looked at one, I felt guilty. And it's like, I couldn't do it. I hung my head in shame. And I still feel bad about it. I mean, it's funny now, but it's kind of like, I still get that really sad feeling about it, because definitely not my finest moment. But again, if I had just talked it out with someone, or I had just opened up to older sibling, that probably would not have happened. But you see, we always, a lot of times, many of us were raised to not feel like a burden. You just deal with it. And we don't always learn the tools to deal with things. And so we push it down. And then it does come up in different ways. Maybe it comes up in little ways, like complaining about this or complaining about that, or just straight up exploding at something really stupid and ridiculous to the point where you're like, what? Well, where did that come from? But then we have our people that just say, I'm here for you. What's going on? Let's bottom line this. Okay, where is this really coming from? If you have those people, you're doing well, and keep them. But also be that person. Be that person that, that realizes when someone's sitting there bitching, moaning, complaining, and maybe even yelling in your face to the point where your hair is blowing back. Just, ask them, are you okay? Is there something else you want to talk about? And if they're still exploding, just walk away. Just say, you know what? I'll come back when you're feeling better. But I can see something, and if you want to talk to me, I'm here. And they're not always going to want to talk. They're not always going to know why. because sometimes we push it down so many times, we don't know what's coming up. We don't know what is resurfacing. It's just that, we can't hold it anymore. We can't hold it down anymore. So keep those people who show up for you during your hard times, and also be that person who shows up for people during hard times. Keep the people in your life who are able to be vulnerable. I had a little bit of trouble with this one, because normally if you go back to the other one, show up during hard times, I kind of felt like maybe it should say, keep the people in your life who are able to help you when you're being vulnerable, or who, for you to be vulnerable. But I guess if someone's coming to you, I don't know, maybe you guys can help me out with this. Okay. Keep the people in your life who are able to be vulnerable. So if any of you have anything to say in the comments that are still on right now, please help me with this one. We're going to move to the next one until I get some feedback, because again, that one I'm struggling with a little bit, because I'm not really sure how to describe that. So, I know, look at that. Shelly Marie got stuck. It's like tripping over the hurdle and falling flat on your face. Or, for those who know, if you know, falling out of an Uber minivan knees first into a puddle. Anyways, keep the people in your life who are willing to communicate. I think this goes back to showing up during hard times, but people, when you struggle in a relationship, I think it's always, communication, trust, and honesty is always the key to any relationship, whether it's a partnership, a business partnership, a romantic relationship, a friendship, a family relationship, a sibling relationship, anything. Communication, honesty, and trusting someone is paramount to a successful, relationship of any kind. And I think we forget that sometimes, and I think we forget that we need to communicate. Sissy had a lot of trauma. Sissy Joe had a lot of trauma. I had a lot of trauma. And I was telling my cousin about this the other day. I said, sometimes we would just, she would start the fights, but I said, I never finished them, because we both had so much that we just pushed down, because, we were raised to not talk about it. We were raised to say, hey, you just got to be stronger and move forward. And sometimes that works, if you don't have any trauma. Everyone has some kind of trauma, right, that they may think is trauma. But when you have some kind of CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress, disorder, it's like prolonged, right? And she had that from a relationship in her life, and several actually. And I had that from all the things that, happened. And so, you learn to push this down, but you're also not dealing with all this trauma that has happened. And finally, in the end, we both sat down and talked and just said, look, we got to lay it on the line. And I told her, I said, look, I want to talk to you. Let's just lay it on the line. No arguing, no fighting, no talking over each other. And she's like, okay, I think we should. And, and so we talked about all these things that hurt one another. And it's like, we were not doing what these things said. We were not showing up for each other during hard times. We were just kind of taking it out on each other during hard times. And we were not, being vulnerable. We were just being combative. We were not communicating. And so from that moment on, we just talked and we said, okay, instead of fighting, let's just talk it out. Let's just talk it out. Let's because I told her, I said, this is what I'm learning, from reading things. And it's like, sometimes what we're mad at is not what we're mad at. It's what we're just projecting, because it's just, we can't hold it down anymore. So communication is so, so key. And maybe that's where the vulnerability comes in. We have to learn to be vulnerable. We have to learn that if we are going to communicate with somebody else, that we have to be willing to hear what they have to say about us. We have to be willing to be vulnerable, to understand that we are not perfect, because we may walk around like, I got this, and, you don't know who you're hurting in the process, because, you figure, well, I got no problems. I'm fine. No, because you may be kidding yourself. Now, I'm not saying everybody's like that, okay? There are times when this happens. And if we're unable to be vulnerable, we are not going to communicate well. Wow, I think I just answered my own thing. I'm not seeing any comments on here, but I don't know if they're writing them or if I just can't see them. Because like I said, they don't always pop up. So maybe the universe just wanted me to figure this out myself. But yeah, but I think maybe these go together. You have to be willing to be vulnerable in order to communicate. And that's not always easy for people. I know that's not always easy for people because it was a very hard thing for me to be vulnerable. Letting go or learning how to be vulnerable was probably the most important thing that I ever did in my life, in my growth process, and in my healing journey. Because if you're not willing to be vulnerable, you are not going to heal things. And I know that sounds weird because you're saying, well, you mean I got to be weak? Vulnerability is not weakness. Being vulnerable means that you are willing to sit there. And if you're having an issue with somebody and you're both fighting or you're talking it out, being able to hear what the other person is saying and take it as constructive criticism. I think vulnerability is just the nice way of saying constructive criticism, in my personal opinion. And there's nothing wrong with that. I always tell people now, look, if I'm doing something, you have to tell me because I can't fix it if I don't realize it. And sometimes we just do things so automatically because that's just ingrained in us. And in order to break that habit, we have to be vulnerable enough to realize that maybe there is something that needs to be fixed. And I do my best now. I mean, sometimes it might hurt my feelings the way it happens, but I think if we're willing to be vulnerable, we can learn things about ourselves and we can correct the things that, just don't make us a better person, that just kind of anchor us in this trauma, this pain, this whatever, this darkness. And if we're willing to be vulnerable, it's pulling up that anchor and setting sail, right? Remember the whole, the ocean of bliss, the sea of misery and the ocean of bliss and the wall of waves, or the wall of waves of emotions. Yeah, I mean, those are things we haven't talked about in a long time, but it's still there, and Muddy says it perfectly. Being vulnerable takes more, and she capitalized that, more strength. And, and it's true, because you have to sit there and sometimes take that constructive criticism and process it. And if you are not strong enough to do that, you are either going to take it personally and spiral out of it, or you're going to get angry. But when you learn how to be vulnerable with it, you're just kind of like, okay, all right, this is what I need to do. Because I know when I say, look, you got to tell me what I'm doing, otherwise I can't fix it. And sometimes when they tell me, it hurts. Because you're like, gosh, am I still doing, sometimes when older sibling and I talk, or I just kind of lose my shit sometimes, and I'm like, God, I just don't want to be this person anymore. And she's all, well, you're getting there. And hearing you're getting there instead of, it's fine, this happens sometimes, was kind of like, oof, that hurts. But she wasn't wrong. And so I continue to try to figure out how to not suppress the anger and just kind of let it out constructively. Not in a way where it's blowing someone's hair back because you're yelling at them, but just in a way, if I journal or if I punch something like a desk or something or even have a playlist with nothing but heavy metal music on it, because for some reason that calms my brain. I know. So, all right, the next one. Keep people in your life who reciprocate effort. As I mentioned with show up during hard times, be there for people who will be there for you. All right. There are people in this world who will just take and take and take and take and take. We call those or energy vampires. People who they want you to be there for them. But, when you need something, they're nowhere to be found. And that can hurt too. That can hurt a lot. No, I'm not saying because they're busy in life. There are a lot of people who are busy in life who really don't have enough time in the day, or who have poor time management, or who just, there's so much going on that their stress levels and their brain levels just can't handle it. And I know my people. I know who I can go to and when I can go to them. And sometimes I will reach out. And if they don't answer, I'll just reach out to the next person, which is why I say sometimes always make sure you have more than one person that you can, that you can reach out to. I'm fortunate in the way that, I do have older sibling. Older sibling is kind of like my, not my verbal punching bag, but she's like I don't know, like when I'm in like tornado mode, she just, she's like that, the observer with their binoculars watching the thing just, be destructive and going, hold it there. But, but I know sometimes she's not feeling well, and there'll be times when I call when she doesn't answer because she might be, she might be resting or she might be sleeping and not hear the phone. And in those times when I realize when no one's answering, I just take it as a sign that maybe it's, insert your higher power here, that it's whoever trying to tell me, look, you can figure this out. This is meant for you to figure out. You can't always have someone guide you through everything. Life does not always have a guide. Sometimes you have to pick up that stick and do your own hiking, do your own guiding. And I think sometimes we forget about that, because I do think that in those moments when people aren't picking up, it's just, it's like the universe or God or my spirit table saying, you need to figure this out on your own. You need to go deep, and you're afraid to go deep because you're doing it alone. But once you get there, you have that, those people that you can go to and celebrate your good news. I can't tell you how many times that I've come through something and I call sibling, guess what? And she's always so excited for me. She's like, oh, that's great. That's great. It's not like, oh, again? How many times do you could pass a finish line in your healing journey? No, there's never any judgment. It's just like, that is wonderful. That's great. I'm so proud of you. And those are the people that we need in our lives. And I have that across the board with my support group. And I'm very grateful for all of them. Muddy, my cousin Jeannie, my cousin Marie, older sibling, just people who champion you, a bestie. I have so many people, and it brings me back to what my dad said. It just amazes me how many people love you. And he didn't mean that in a mean way, but it was just like, just all these people that just want you to be a part of their lives. And that's a gift, because a lot of people don't have that, because they're afraid to be vulnerable, because they're afraid to communicate, or they're just afraid of the world outside their door. And there are people like that, and it's sad because they're lonely. So, like I said earlier, though, I'm at this age, though, where I will reciprocate effort. If you put in effort, I will put in effort. And I admit, sometimes I fall by the wayside in effort. And, I do my best. Bestie and I talked about this just over a year and a couple months ago. He was just kind of like, because he's going through a hard time. He's like the main caregiver for his mother-in-law. And she has dementia, and he's it. He quit his job to help. And, every so often during the week, he gets a little bit of him time, because the nurse will come in. But, he's just like, well, and he told me straight out, he's like, I'm always there for you. And, you just this, and this. And I had to learn to be vulnerable because we were communicating. He was communicating to me how I have failed in our friendship and how I failed in our relationship. And, he wasn't wrong. And so I told him, I said, can I speak now? And I could hear him bracing him. I mean, we're on the phone, but you just feel it, right? You can feel them bracing themselves for you lashing out. And all I said was, you know what? You're right. And I'm sorry. And he's like, huh? I just told him, I said, you're right. And I'm sorry. And I'm going to do better. I'm going to try really hard to be better and do better. And I have been, because I realized I wasn't reciprocating the effort. And I'm sharing that because I want people to understand that, we always talk about, wanting people to do this for us and do that for us. But we have to look at our own relationships and take stock of them. And are we giving enough? I feel guilty being here sometimes because I'm not helping sibling out. And then when I'm there, I feel guilty because I'm not helping my dad out. And it's just, it gets a little overwhelming at times. And the feelings get very confusing. And I think that's why sometimes I'm just struggling with my mental health, because it's like I can't be in two places at once, which I wish I could be, and I can't. And so, You know, even being on the cruise, it didn't feel like a vacation because I was still worried about everybody. And I mean, I had fun and I had a great time, but there was still that underlying feeling of worry about, you know, is everyone going to be okay? And the boat was pitching a lot. So it's like, you know, there was just my brain just going 90 miles an hour, you know, and with no stop signs. So, I mean, like I said, I did have a wonderful, wonderful time. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that, you know, we do have a level of, you know, effort that we do put out, and we have to make sure that we continue to put that out if we want to receive the same in return. So, and the last, keep people in your life who hold you accountable. We kind of covered that in the different things. You know, I talked about how Bestie held me accountable for something. You know, how I've held myself accountable, but we don't want people, we want people to celebrate us and to help us through the hard times. But when we do something dumb, or we're talking out of line, or we're being whatever, you know, we do want people to hold us accountable. You know, if we're complaining about A, B, or C, and we're not doing anything about A, B, or C, we need someone to hold us accountable and say, well, what are you doing about this? How are you going about making this better? So, and that doesn't mean that happens all the time. On a healing journey, it can. Because again, you are learning how to be vulnerable, probably for the first time in your life. You're learning how to communicate. And your communication may not always be up to par. You know, you may be combative. You may be rebellious. You may be discovering new emotions that you have suppressed for so long that they just feel entirely weird and then send you into a whole different mood. But, you know, we have to learn to listen. And I think people that hold you accountable are also the ones who are going to help you communicate and be vulnerable. Those three go together like siblings, like triplets. You know, being able to be vulnerable, being able to communicate, holding you accountable. And you also have to not be afraid to hold other people accountable for their actions. I find myself doing that a lot lately. But, you know, but also holding myself accountable for my own actions. Like, where am I responsible for my actions? So, you know, it's not just about keeping people in your life who will keep you accountable or hold you accountable, but also learning how to keep yourself and hold yourself accountable for the things that you do. You know, I mean, we're not perfect. We are perfectly imperfect human beings. And we are going to run through this life. We're going to run into trees from time to time and go, oh, why was I not paying attention to that? Or we're going to trip and fall, or we're going to stumble along the way. But as long as we hold ourselves accountable in those moments, and as long as we, you know, make sure that we make things right, we're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Now, if you're going to be that person who holds someone accountable, don't shame them. Don't make them feel bad about it. You're holding them accountable, so it's a behavior that they can fix. You know, not because you want to have some kind of superiority complex over them. That's not why we hold people accountable. We hold people accountable to help them. We hold ourselves accountable to help ourselves, so that there are behaviors that we can fix, that there are behaviors that we can heal and move through gently. Holding someone accountable does not mean slapping them. It means taking their hand and saying, I see you, let's do this, let's work on this. Let's get you through this. That's what friendship is about. That's what relationships are about across the board, romantic or platonic or familial. That's what they're about. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about keeping people in your life who celebrate your good news, keeping people in your life who show up during your hard times and you showing up during theirs, keeping people in your life that, you know, who are able to be vulnerable, keeping people in your life who are willing to communicate, keeping people in your life who reciprocate effort, and keeping people in your life who hold you accountable. I have been on both sides of all of these. And like I said, I open myself up, the good and the bad, to help other people through their own journey, because it's not always easy. Being vulnerable is not always easy at first. Learning to communicate is not always easy at first. Being held accountable or holding someone accountable is not always easy at first. It takes work and it takes effort, but it also takes a level of compassion and empathy that we also have to learn in that process. You know, I mean, when Bestie held me accountable and we communicated, he didn't yell at me. He was just very matter of fact. And I was in the car and I was pretty much near tears because all I could think of was like, oh my God, I've been like the shittiest friend for the last 30 some odd years. I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? You know, and it's like, he's always been there for me. I mean, he saved my life once, literally, not figuratively, literally, by being very persistent when calling me. That was the day that I had a knife to my wrist. Oops, sorry, trigger warning. That I had a knife to my wrist. And the answering machine never picked up. But the phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. I picked up and he's like, I was thinking about you and this wave of feeling or something like that came over me and I figured I need to call you. And he did. And I don't know if I would have been able to go through it or strong enough to go through it or weak enough, whatever, however you want to put that. But he saved my life that day. And then here I was just kind of like, oh yeah, he's always going to be there. And I tried to be there for him, you know, in my own ways. But then after a while, I was just kind of like, what? You know, like they call and it's like, what do you want? You know? And, you know, whether you're being funny or not. And so I'm glad that we were able to have that talk because that is one person. And we've known each other for 39 years this September. We met in freshman year in high school. And I am eternally grateful for everything that he has brought to my life and continues to bring to my life. So cherish your people, you know, like I said, whether it's romantic, platonic, familial, you know, cherish your people. And keep those people in your life who bring value, who bring joy, who bring love to your life, who aren't afraid to put you back in your place. And I am grateful that I have a lot of people who are willing to do that. And I'm grateful that I'm also in a place now where I don't take it personally. It might hurt, you know, but I don't take it personally. And sometimes I realize that people will say things to us because they're hurting. That's a very key, important thing to remember. Don't just walk away from someone because they hurt your feelings. They may be projecting because they may be reaching out in their own way for help and they just don't know how to say, will you please sit down with me and talk with me because I need help? No, they're going to be combative. They're going to be rebellious. They're going to yell in your face until, you know, it melts off your skull. And we have to remember to ask ourselves, is this about me or are they reaching out? And they don't know how to ask. That's a very important question sometimes that we forget to ask. And I am very grateful in the early years of my healing journey that older sibling would just bottom line it. Like, what's really, she's like, I know this isn't about me. What's really going on? Let's bottom line this. That's always what she said. Let's bottom line this. So, anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful, safe weekend. I'll see you back here Monday. Today is Thursday, right? Yeah, according to my computer, it's Thursday. All right. Have a wonderful and safe weekend. I'm going to search around my room and see if I can find the rest of my brain cells. And I'll hydrate the little ravers, the hormone ravers inside. But get them back up to par. Hopefully on Monday I'll be a little bit more normal and less squirrely than I have been. But I don't know. I like the squirrels, though. You know, they're kind of fun when they show up. But anyways, again, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. I really don't know who the third person is that's on here, but to Angela, the third person, older sibling. Oh, it's T. Good morning, T. I see all the hearts now. She's being quiet. Oh, I miss her. All right. Sending love to you, T, and to older sibling and Muddy and Angela, who also popped on. But thank you all so much for being on and for being there. And speaking of T, I really owe her some serious friendship because I have been a bad friend the last year. I've just been so stuck in my head and just out of my mind with trying to get out of this spiral that Yeah. So, Sammy, I think it's Thursday. Well, we're just going to pretend it's Thursday. And if it's not Thursday, there will be a show tomorrow, which should be Thursday. But I do think today is Thursday. So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I will see you back here on Monday. Have a great day. Oh, thank you, T. She's so sweet. She's like, no, you haven't. I need to be better, girl. But thank you. I appreciate that very much. In fact, text incoming. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you for watching.